Faceting gemstones. How do they even do that? It's like magic. This video follows the first stones from the very beginning of the faceting experience. A new to me machine, so many questions, failures, and beautiful facets to come. And with that, let's get started. All right, so she's spinning fine, and I want to get two things done with this preform. I need to take off as much of the extra as possible and make a flat surface so that I can dop it. So I'm not gonna need the ends. I'm just gonna need the creamy good stuff in the center, and hopefully this is a deep enough gem to make the 6mm. We're gonna find out. Also, this is a brand new dot, or a brand new lap. So breaking it in. So it should have a pretty aggressive bite right now. Looking good, but how did we select that stone? Not knowing exactly what I'm doing, I selected some Sunstones that looked good in the wintergreen oil. That way you can see if there are any serious fractures or inclusions that you don't want. These do have schiller, but it's silver schiller instead of the pretty pink. So these would be less desirable because they're not perfectly clear. And that sounds like a good stone to start with for my dops and this adventure into the first time. I don't have a proper gem scale, but I do have scale. So we're gonna find out what the rough weight is. That is exactly 3 grams. Grams multiply, I think, 5 times for a carat weight. So I believe this is 15. And it's going on the 6mm dop. But it's not going to look like that when, wrong dot. That is 6mm, but we're going for the flat first because we're going to make the pavilion and the girdle first. So I'm going to preform this guy, but I wanted us to know how big we're starting with, so. The time taken now to get the stone size down, way more than we did here, will pay off when we're actually cutting the first facets of the design. This flat surface is ready to dop. Okay, what am I missing here? I can lower and heighten this on the mast. This little guy dials up your angle, and that seems simple enough. Like, okay, 90 degrees, eh? And I go over here and I like put it where it seems like it should go on the lap, but you can see how much play I have. Droop. And this is actually where this that's my little gauge that's supposed to work. Excuse Lily fighting in the background with Ochi. And so, yeah, that doesn't look like 90 degrees at all. This is 90 degrees-ish, a little bit over, you know, so I could grind. What am I doing wrong? Okay, zeroed out indicator. And I'm doing that with a 45-degree block, so it should be 45. And it's 60 right on the button. Turns out there's a hack to get the 90 degrees done too. Meet the Rigatron. Eyeball in a stone. So I decided to try to do a round since my 90 degree isn't working as far as being able to use any kind of stop on it. So we're going to see if this works.
An important part of the process is selecting the design. In this case, for my first stone, I chose a design that Theo Kellison shared with me. It's some modified Portuguese Spanish octopus or some such thing. In fact, I think my autocorrect just renamed the design. So the dance here is to swipe or drag the stone on the topper. This one is 1200 diamond grit to establish the pavilion angles. Every couple swipes, one tips the quill up to check the progress. You really want to sneak up on those angles. You can't undo cutting. When all the angles of the pavilion are in, you switch grits to pre-polish, in this case 3000. Is that a CD? Yes, they make a great topper in a pinch. After the 3000 diamond paste, I moved on to the cerium oxide lap for the polish. The facets are so pretty. Seeing this rock become a glimmering gem is beyond exciting. When the pavilion is done, one switches dots so the top end of the stone can be worked. This contraption is a transfer jig and helps you make sure that the angles of the stone are in line with each other, top to bottom. A happy workbench of chaos. Protractor for troubleshooting the angle crisis, torch and epoxy for the dop drama, and a notebook to keep track of all this, learning. The finished beauty released from the dops. There was a fracture I didn't see that was only evident when the epoxy didn't hold it together anymore, and other beginner problems, but we're off to the races. This is so much fun. The top part of the cut stone is called the crown. The flat part on top of the crown is called the table. This funky chunk of brass is my table attachment for my machine. It helped us troubleshoot our angle problems, and it holds the stone so we can make a perfect flat plane. Check it out, stone number 2, the simple jack pattern with an eyeballed round. We fixed this conundrum a bit later. At this point, I can't believe I'm making gems. So how about a square? If by cutting the angles of a stone all the way around, I can determine the exact center of the stone, by cutting 4 angles like that, I can find a square. Now I can cut a proper girdle, even without having my machine properly calibrated. The girdle is the meeting point of the top and bottom, or crown and pavilion of the stone. It usually has a 90-degree facet that is the perimeter of the stone at its widest reach. Ooh, pretty. So now that we know how to get the girdle without a gauge or measure on the machine, let's go back to the rounds and try a standard round brilliant. I was able to cut the girdle based on the breakpoint method, meeting the angles to establish the measurement of each girdle section. You can see pink schiller fireworks in that one too. So happy to be able to make a round round. A variation to the round brilliant was the next stone called Unstacked Mains. It had a pretty schiller too, so I thought it might be time to set one of these bad boys. Okay, now we're cooking with fire, and it's time to play in the dark. Theo Kellison, who gave me tons of help getting started with this faceting, along with Patrick Donahue, spoke of faceting Obsidian for great effect and practice. It so happens I have a bit of that lying around here, so time to cut. That obsidian is so deep and full of chocolatey goodness, there will definitely be more of those to come. With our proximity to Oregon Sunstones, I'm definitely into working with them. This is a strawberry blushing schiller deluxe. A very welcome upgrade to the lap arsenal was this much needed bat lap by Gearloose. Not that I don't love CDs, but I'm charging this with 3,000 diamond paste and 50,000 diamond paste with wonderful outcomes. Like this standard round Brilliant Obsidian and this reverse Brilliant for Quartz by Michael Zinski, but this is Sunstone, of course. After hitting my stride a bit with the faceting flow, I built this little caddy. Since my workbench is multifunction, this entailed just drilling holes for dops and screwing driftwoods together to hold the important tools for the process. How do you keep your tools together? Clipboard with the design of the stone sits on the tool caddy, and the work area is riddled with lights. This is a very eyes-on sport. While I'm tirelessly working every facet on each stone at least 3 times over, I often find myself daydreaming about what I'm going to make with that stone. Could saw some silver sheet and set it on fire. I love setting my artwork on fire. Perhaps completing a circle, or a ring if you will. While scoping the next sunstone to use, lo and behold, I've made myself a new piece of jewelry. It's a prototype for a couple rings that happened soon thereafter. I've completed 18 stones so far, only have been at it a few months, and I have to pinch myself every time I get to step up to the faceting machine. Many are asking, where's Karen? Or remember that Karen person we used to know? I've been kind of obsessed. I hope this has sparked your interest too. There are way more stories to share and so much to learn. If you have questions or some suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I've found everyone's help incredibly valuable getting into this, from providing parts that the machine didn't come with to troubleshooting. This community is incredibly generous with time and help. And a very, very special thank you to Nancy. Without her, this wouldn't have become a dream come true. This was a little splash into this new faceting world, but you know we only scratched the surface. Yeah, pun intended. I'll definitely be sharing more of the nitty-gritty and would love to know what you'd like to see more of too. More about technique, the designs, the stones, just more pretty pictures? That's a no-brainer. I'll leave you with that. For more information, check out ozonefineart.com. Keep creating. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe if you love it, and enjoy the stones.